Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Pallavi Nargund. I am a solutions architect here at AWS. And in this session, we are going to focus on what are the considerations for securing your artificial intelligence and machine learning workload on AWS. Now, during this presentation, I will use the term AI ML to represent artificial intelligence and machine learning. A quick look at today's agenda. At first, we are going to take a look at the security benefits that you inherit as part of running your workload in AWS. Then we'll talk about about the shared responsibility model. And then we will dive into major considerations to secure your AI/ML workload. Now, during the course of this presentation, if there are any questions, I will address them at the end of the session. So let's get started. Now, cloud security at AWS is the highest priority. As an AWS customer, you benefit from AWS data centers and a network that is architected to protect your information, your applications, and your workload. With AWS, you can improve your ability to meet your core security and compliance requirements. Today, today AWS protects millions of active customers around the world. Now, our customers represent diverse industries, whether they are large enterprises, whether they are startups, whether they are educational institutions, government organizations, or financial sectors. Now, this scale and global reach helps us have the broad visibility and deep perspective on cloud security. It helps us to know what different workloads our customers are hosting and what are their security requirements. As a result, AWS supports 90 security standards and compliance certifications, such as whether it's a PCI compliance, HIPAA, FedRAMP, to name a few. You can find the details on our website. This helps you satisfy the compliance requirements for virtually every regulatory agency around the globe. To aid your compliance effort, we regularly achieve third-party validations for thousands of our global compliance requirements. You inherit the latest security controls operated by AWS, strengthening your own compliance and certification program. And whenever you're hosting your AI/ML workloads, data becomes the key, and having these security compliance behind you is a key consideration. Now, AWS is vigilant about your privacy. We have a world-class team of security experts that is monitoring our systems 24/7 to protect your content. With AWS, you can build on the most secure global infrastructure. You always own your data and have full control over who accesses it, as well as the ability to encrypt it, move it, and manage it for retention. Now, we are not going to go deep into the AWS global infrastructure, but when you talk about security, it is important to know that all data flowing across the global AWS global network that interconnects to whether it's our data centers or across the regions, that is automatically encrypted at the physical layer before it leaves our secured facilities. There are certain network patterns which have additional encryption layers, such as when you are designing for VPC, cross-region peering traffic, or whether customers or service-to-service TLS connections. Now, we provide tools that allow you to easily encrypt your data in transit and at rest to help ensure that only authorized users can access it. You can use keys managed by our AWS Key Management System, which is KMS, or managing your own encryption keys with Cloud HSM. We also have the control and visibility you need to help demonstrate that you comply with regional and local data privacy laws. Now, the design of our global infrastructure allows you to retain complete control over the regions in which your data is physically located, and that helps you meet your data residency requirements. It is also important to note that all 117 AWS services that store customer data offer the ability to encrypt that data. Now, when it comes to security, one of the key areas that we focus on is to reduce risk via automation. It is important to get humans away from the data. With automating a security task, you reduce the risk of human configuration errors and giving your team time to focus more on the work that is critical for your businesses. For example, by employing technologies like machine learning, AWS enables you to automatically and continually discover, classify, and protect sensitive data in AWS with just a few clicks in the AWS console. You can also automate infrastructure and application security checks to continually enforce your security and compliance. Now, I bet you've seen this multiple times, but it's important to highlight the shared responsibility model. Security and compliance is a shared responsibility between AWS and the customer. AWS is responsible for security of the cloud. That is, AWS is responsible for protecting the infrastructure that runs off the services offered in the AWS cloud. Now, this infrastructure is composed of the hardware, software, networking, and the facilities that run AWS cloud services. Customer's responsibility, that is your responsibility, is security in the cloud. And your responsibility, the degree of your responsibility will be determined by the cloud service that you select. For example, when you deploy an Amazon EC2 instance, you're responsible for management of the guest operating system that includes any updates or security and any application, software, or utilities installed by you on that instance. So any workload that you host, any applications that you host, you're responsible for making sure it's secure. But we don't leave you alone in this task. We have a number of security services that you can use to secure your workload in the cloud. We are not going to go in detail about each service in this session, but just to focus on a couple of areas that are primarily you will see in the presentation in the upcoming slides is, of course, identity and access management, to make sure that ensuring that only authorized and authenticated users are able to access your resources and only in a manner that you intended. So the principles of the least privileges should be exercised here. And one of the most common service that will be referred here is the AWS Identity and Access Management service, which is referred by IAM. Data protection category is another main category. So before architecting any system, one of the foundational practices that we classify the data, we identify the data into different categories in terms of the level of sensitivity, and encryption protects data by rendering it unintelligible to unauthorized access. So one of the key service here is AWS Key Management Service, or KMS, which makes it easy for you to create and manage cryptographic keys and control their use across a wide range of AWS services in your application. Now, apart from all these services, a quick call out that on our AWS Marketplace, we have a broad and deep selection of security solutions offered by hundreds of independent software vendors. So there are a few guiding principles when it comes to securing your workload in cloud. Just listed few over here at this point. So first and foremost, you want to implement a strong identity foundation. So you always use the principles of least privileges and enforce separation of duties with authorization. Also, you want to centralize the privilege management system and reduce or even eliminate reliance on any long-term credentials. You should look at ways to give temporary credentials or just-in-time access That is one of the recommended best practices. You want to enable traceability, so you want to monitor, alert, and audit actions and changes to your environment in real time. Of course, apply security at all layers, and security is everyone's responsibility. Similarly, applying security at all layers is equally important. So rather than just focusing on a protection of a single outer layer, thinking that, oh, my application workload is safe, maybe it's good practice to apply a defense in depth approach with other security controls. Automation, again, we talked about it in previous slide, but then automation is key to reduce risk, and getting humans away from the data is very important. You want to protect your data in transit and at rest. Classify your data into sensitivity levels and use mechanisms such as whether it's encryption, tokenization, and access control wherever appropriate. Now let's focus on the AI/ML workload. Now it's important to understand what the entire AI/ML process itself looks like. You always start, so first of all, building and operating a typical ML workload is an iterative process, and it's very complex. It does consist of multiple phases. As a general guideline, we identify these phases loosely based on CRISP DM, which is the cross-industry standard for data mining. So as at the beginning, of course, you start by finding out what is the business problem that you're solving. Then the next step is defining that into ML problem, and this is a very important step, and sometimes it's the toughest step in the entire process. Then you start the process of data collection and integration. Then comes the data cleaning and exploration. After that, you will do some feature engineering on the data and choose your algorithm. Then you train your model, evaluate it, and then you'll evaluate it whether your business goals are met. If not, you're going to go back and reiterate over those options. Once you're satisfied with your evaluation criteria, the model is deployed in production, and then you start the continuous monitoring and debugging to see if this particular model is staying on course or it is drifting from what your initial assumptions are. Now, the point about going over this process is to emphasize what we have to follow as a cloud best practice, and that is to apply security at all layers. Now, in the next few slides, we are going to focus on some of the security best practices. Sorry, lost control there for a minute. Now, as part of the data collection process, it is quite a common practice nowadays to build some sort of data lake. Now, securing all aspects of data lake is beyond the scope of this session. However, I'm going to focus on two aspects with respect to security best practices. Now, data lake, once the data lake is hydrated or the data is collected from various sources. Now, some of these source systems will likely have some sort of PII data. Now, at this stage, when it is still within the source system, a very small population has access to this data. But when this data leaves the storage and lands in the data lake as part of a single source of truth, that's where the propagation of PII has an exponential risk effect. Therefore, before de-identifying someone's personal data, discovery of all that person's data, how and where it is collected is a must. It's not just enough to find the data. Understanding all the places where it resides is also crucial. Whether it is in internal databases, whether it is sitting as part of the files. In the case of healthcare, you will have MRIs or you'll have EMR records. Sometimes the PII data is hiding in those images or those scanned documents. So it is important. So there are a number of ways you can to implement the de-identification of data lake, but it is important to call out that identifying such PII data and masking that PII data before it leaves, before it enters the data lake is an important step in securing your AI/ML workload. And this process, the architecture patterns are called de-identification of data lake. And there are a number of approaches designed to solve this. But it does give organizations a competitive differentiator and still reduces the risk of data breaches as well as misuse of data. Now, there are, excuse me, there are many data storage services available in AWS, out of which S3 is the most popular out of all. And it integrates well with AWS machine learning stack, as well as serves as a central storage for your data lake architecture. So I'm going to focus on S3 security best practices, but there is, if you are interested in any other data storage, of course, there is a very good guidance as well as there are security best practices that are listed on our website, or I'm happy to chat afterwards as well. But let's focus on S3 as the security best practice. So the first stop always is you want to block public access to your S3 bucket. So unless you explicitly require anyone on the internet to be able to read or write to your S3 bucket, you should ensure that your S3 bucket is not public. Now, by default, these new buckets that you create don't have public access, but users can modify these bucket policies. So S3 block public access setting, there is a setting called S3 block public access. That setting will override these policies and permissions so that you can limit public access to these resources. Now, again, apply the principles of least privileges and restrict access to your S3 bucket or objects using IAM policies or S3 bucket policies. You can also leverage S3 access points, which is a new feature that we introduced recently. Now, with S3 access points, you can easily create hundreds of access points per bucket and customize it based on the application and name it differently. So in short, it is going to help you manage the data access policies to your S3 bucket at scale. Now, when you are communicating with the S3 bucket, you want to send, secure the traffic with VPC endpoints. And VPC endpoints, it enables you to privately connect your VPC to S3 or any other AWS services. So when you secure your traffic using VPC endpoints, your VPC and S3, the traffic between your VPC and S3 does not leave Amazon network. You want to enforce TLS. You want to have a bucket policy which enforces TLS connectivity. So you should. That is again a security best practices recommendation. The next stop is encrypt everything. Encryption at rest. So there are a couple of ways you can encrypt the data in S3. You can have a server-side encryption where you request Amazon S3 to encrypt your object before saving it on disks in its data centers and then decrypt it when you download the object. Or you can use client-side encryption where you encrypt data client-side and upload the encrypted data to Amazon S3. In this case, you manage the encryption process, you manage the encryption keys and any related tools along with that. Now you can enable versioning or MFA on delete to protect your data from accidental overrides or deletions. Now, some of you might have security requirements where your data must follow the write once or read-only model. In those cases, you can enable object lock, where you can store the data using this worm or write once and read many model. One more thing I forgot to mention on the other slide is you may want to additionally consider using Amazon Macie Macy is a machine learning service to automatically discover, classify, and protect sensitive data, such as personally identifiable information or any intellectual property. And it works against S3, and it provides you with the dashboards and alerts that gives you visibility into how the data is being accessed or moved. Now, to host your machine learning workloads on AWS provides a machine learning stack. And let's take a look at what the different layers involve. Now, this bottom layer, which is ML frameworks and infrastructures, it is for those expert machine learning practitioners who are comfortable building and maintaining their own machine learning platform and underlying infrastructure. So from framework perspective, we support the popular machine learning framework. As well as to deploy this framework, we offer a broad array of compute options for training and inference with either GPU-based instances or computer and memory optimized instances, or even FPGAs. In the middle layer, we have middle layer are the machine learning services that make it easy for the machine learning developers and data scientists to build, train, and deploy machine learning models. In addition to the IDE, all Amazon SageMaker features are also available through API. So majority of the following slides that we are going to see in the rest of the session are going to be focused on securing this particular middle layer. The top of the layer are our AI services that allow all developers to use pre-trained and auto-trained models to add intelligence to any application without any prior machine learning experience. These are designed to solve most common AI problems. For example, you may want to engage Amazon Rekognition to just, let's say, to see if there are any labels or if there is any text on the images. Now, they are focused on a specific domain area, and they allow you to quickly and easily use a pre-trained machine learning model to generate predictions, and that too all with a very simple API call. Now, these AI services are intentionally easy to use. The focus here is really enabling any developers with no ML skills required to be able to develop AI applications using one of our services. Now, when it comes to the security of this ML stack, there are a couple of things that I'm just going to call out before we move further. So when it comes to the infrastructure layer, hosting your machine learning workload using deep armies or provisioning GPU instances, you're primarily looking at the shared responsibility model, where you can use the cloud best practices to host your entire ML workload. The topmost layer, which is AI services, is a managed service layer. All these services at a high level follow similar pattern for security best practices. So before we dive deeper into SageMaker, we are just going to quickly take a look at what those practices are. Now, first and foremost, again, allow the principles of least privileges. And with IAM-based, identity-based policies, you can specify allowed or denied actions and to resources as well as the conditions under which the actions are allowed or denied. Encryption in transit and rest, that's a common practice. As well as now in terms of data protection purposes, we recommend that you, of course, protect AWS account credentials and set up IAM users, which are standard IAM best practices. You can also use advanced security features like Macy to identify and discover if there is any personal data stored in Amazon S3. We also, so when you are using these services, we also recommend that you never put sensitive identifying information, such as your customer's account number, into any of the free-form fields, such as name field. You should always have logging and monitoring. So use CloudTrail to monitor any API calls. And using CloudWatch, you can monitor AI services, assets, and processes. Now, when it comes to infrastructure security, as a managed service, AI services are protected by AWS Global Network Security Procedures. So along with gaining access to fast, high quality AI tools, which also scale based on your demand, you don't have to implement additional infrastructure security measures. That's automatically managed as part of being a managed service. And this certainly makes AI services quite attractive for many organizations. Now, one thing just to note is when it comes to compliance requirement, which is a case with other services also, you want to make sure if you choose any AI service that you want to use in your workload, make sure that the AI service is compliant to your security requirements in that particular region where you're trying to host. And all this information is updated always on our website. So the next we are going to talk about SageMaker and how you can secure your SageMaker workload. Now, as we've seen earlier, machine learning process is very complex and iterative. Amazon SageMaker is a fully managed service that removes the heavy lifting from each step of the machine learning process. SageMaker makes model building and training easier by providing pre-built development notebooks. We have popular machine learning algorithms that are optimized for petabyte scale data sets, as well as SageMaker offers automated model tuning, enabling developers to build, train, and deploy models in a single click. Now we continue to add more features into Amazon SageMaker. So what it does is it brings a lot of, it's not only brings the IDE, but along with that it brings you can test, debug, and deploy and monitor, profile everything in one single environment. So you can use SageMaker for end-to-end machine learning workflow, or you can choose modules that you want to use. For example, you can either use any algorithms that are pre-built by SageMaker, or you can bring your own algorithms. The reason we are focusing on this here is that it will depend on which module you choose and how you are going to primarily secure that workload when you bring it in AWS. So, so when it comes to security, SageMaker is laser focused on supporting customers in terms of their security requirement. So whether it is providing authorization and access controls around things like the Jupyter Notebook instances or the hosted models. Along with the other AWS services, you get the ability to put security controls at different points in this machine learning lifecycle so that you have the defense in depth approach that you can apply here. Remember, security at all layers. So there are a few common patterns when it comes to securing your SageMaker workload. Most common patterns you will see is private network connectivity, authentication and authorization, data protection, artifact management, and auditing capabilities. So when it comes to the private networking, primarily what you want to do is Amazon SageMaker has multiple components, whether it's a notebook, whether it's your training or hosting instance. You want it to be deployed and accessed over a private network with no internet connectivity. And many of the organizations, they do have a requirement where there's no internet access allowed. So it's super important for these organizations to have this private connectivity established. Now, another common practice is all traffic to Amazon S3 should be over your VPC endpoints so that it stays secure. And configure interface VPC endpoints to all other AWS services to whatever your notebook may need. You may be integrating with other AWS services apart from S3, such as AWS Glue, or maybe bringing in data from another source. Make sure you are using the VPC endpoint. Now, a quick look at what the internal architecture of Amazon SageMaker is and why the private connectivity matters. Now, the SageMaker VPC is slightly different from the VPC management in your account because the SageMaker, first of all, is a managed service. So whenever you launch your notebook instance, that instance is going to be by default launched into this Amazon SageMaker service account. So after you launch the notebook or the training job of all training job, after all these underneath are EC2 instances, but they are running in the service account managed by the SageMaker team and not in your VPC. So let's see how the network flow works here. We encourage the users to configure, if you have the requirement to have everything run in a private subnet, configure the endpoints to make sure it doesn't talk directly through the public internet gateway, first of all, through the SageMaker internet gateway. You redirect that traffic back to your VPC. And in case something is under, in that case, everything is under your control, and you can either block internet access for these EC2 instances, whether it's a Jupyter Notebook instance or a training instance, to go out to the internet. Or what you can do is, a majority of the times, organizations do have a shared services account, so you can route that traffic back to your internet, back to your either shared services account or through your corporate data center. Now, so when you basically launch once your, let's say your model is ready and you launch it, you want to train it. You launch training clusters, you launch your cluster of training instances in your VPC. You want to do that, which allows you to apply network level controls and grant access to AWS services, including S3, using the VPC endpoints. Now, you want to restrict training jobs access to data sources that are not hosted on AWS services. So within your VPC, you want to make sure everything is secured using security groups. Now, also control network access beyond your VPC using proxy servers and security groups. Now, all these notebook instances, whether it's a notebook instance or training instance, these are EC2 instances, and they have EBS volumes attached to it. So another area that you may want to focus on is making sure is that the EBS volumes, they are encrypted using KMS managed keys. Now, when you're training your model on a cluster of instances, what it does, it actually communicates with each other. And it's not communicating for the training data, but it is communicating to share the information that is exchanged by algorithms. So it's a very common practice, especially when you have frameworks like TensorFlow, to share information like coefficients. So you want to make sure that this data, so first of all, this data is not encrypted by default. So you want to make sure, as part of the distributed training job, configuration, configure Amazon SageMaker to encrypt the internode communication to be encrypted. Now, so that way the data, whenever it is transferred between these clusters, it is encrypted in transit. And additionally, as part of Amazon SageMaker, I mean, this is a container-based model. So when you bring in your images, or whether you're using inbuilt algorithms, everything is container-based, especially when you are bringing your own images in terms of containers. Make sure they are hosted in ECR, and you want to encrypt the containers that are hosted on ECR at rest. Similarly, when you are done with your training, one of the options that you want to maybe want to exercise is to deploy the model using Amazon S3. Now, when it comes, so SageMaker makes it very easy to deploy your trained model into production with a single click. And you can basically, when you can either have it deployed as a single instance, or you can have the entire auto scaling parameters configured, and SageMaker will take care of the entire setup. So that's good because it's automation. But then one thing that when that particular REST endpoint is available as secure HTTPS endpoint. All these HTTP requests and all these API calls should be signed so that the requester identity can be verified and the request payload is protected in transit and against replay attacks. Now, there are additional patterns. I know I'm almost probably running out of time, so I'm going to go over these very quickly. So these are some of the additional patterns that we have already seen during our course of previous slides. But making sure that your patterns in terms of patterns for authorization and authentication, access to all resources is first of all follows the principles of least privileges, whether it is your data, whether it's your algorithms, hyperparameters, trained model artifacts, or infrastructure. You must tighten who's accessing these particular artifacts. Now, additional best practice is to make sure each data scientist get their own Amazon SageMaker notebook. And also you want to restrict the root level access to your Jupyter notebook instances. If there are any reasons where data scientists need to download any either packages or libraries or go out to the internet, that should all be restricted and should be managed via a lifecycle configuration feature that is available on the SageMaker. Now, in terms of data protection, again, all this data primarily integrates well with S3. So you should follow the S3 security best practices. And as I mentioned earlier, you do have, especially when you're launching notebook instances, you do have EBS volume. So you want to make sure you encrypt that data using customer master keys or AWS KMS. Now, artifact management is an important aspect of machine learning. And this is one of the aspects where a lot of people don't think too much about it at the beginning, but there are a lot of artifacts involved, whether it's your data, it's the model that you have trained, or the libraries that you're using to build that particular algorithm or maybe feature engineering, etc. So all these are considered artifact and you want to make sure these are protected. So again, common ways to store these artifacts is either S3 or EBS, so you should follow those best practices. And also you should consider using the version control systems as well as repository management to store all these artifacts. And of course, auditing is key when it comes to maintaining your security posture. So you should log Amazon SageMaker notebook logs, or whether it's training jobs, training logs, or there are logs that are hosted as logs that are output as a part of hosting your model on Amazon SageMaker. All these logs should be logged into CloudWatch log. And then, of course, all SageMaker API calls are in CloudTrail. Now, one thing that I want to highlight is when it comes to data stored in S3, by default, data events, such as whether you're reading a object from S3 or writing an object to S3, they are disabled by default in the CloudTrail. So you want to make sure you configure Trail to log the data events for S3 buckets that you specify. So that's all I have for today's session. We reviewed some of the security best practices surrounding your AI/ML workloads. I have some links that are referenced here. I know, Ron, maybe I kind of went over, might be. Not sure, that I haven't been monitoring the questions, but I'm happy to answer any questions or have a email follow-up. My email is listed here, or we can coordinate with Ron as well. And there are reference links in this presentation. So Ron, all yours.